actually dressed as one of the characters that I'm going to speak about today. She doesn't do dairy, but I do it. Welcome and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Sugars. My name is Nomza Mochangase and this is my YouTube channel where I speak about all things books, tiawa, and lifestyle. If that is your kind of jam, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell to get notified every single time your homegirl post a video. So today I am doing my April wrap up. This month was pretty weird for me. I didn't read as much as I thought I would read because life, you're getting in the way of my reading. I'm happy that I actually the first book that I read was Zanny, and this book is the second book. It is a standalone, but it is a second book in this kind of like series. I read Rafe last year. The first book was not really my cup of tea, but it was pretty cute. Zanny is my cup of tea. Zanny was everything and more. Zanny is a niece to this very famous person, was a singer. She passes away and Zanny goes to her where she lived and basically just take care of like the house to bury her. When she gets there, obviously she does the whole burial thing, and then she meets some of her aunt's friend and the people that were closest to her. There's this other guy that's also there, Mason. After the burial, go and read the will, and then Mason is also there. They read the will, and then she finds out that she's aunt basically left everything to Zanny, but in order for her to cash in on her inheritance, she has to marry Mason. And Mason also has to marry Zanny in order for him to also get his inheritance. We follow these two basically just trying to navigate this setup. And I just want to say that this book was wholesome. It made me feel so good, like everything about it, the banter, the chemistry between these two. Zanny alone as a character, I really loved her. Just Zanny as a person, I related so much to her. She's just a very confident girl and she knows what she wants and she will do anything to get what she wants. Mason is just a chilled guy. He basically worships the ground that she walks on. There wasn't any plot to this book. It's just a wholesome, cute book, and you get really hot, filthy, sexy scenes here. The kind of sex that they were having was just like really hot. This was my first time actually reading a book where both of the characters are bisexual. I was just like, oh my god, oh my gosh, I loved them. Like, I loved them so much. They were so cute. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 5-star because it is definitely that book, and I'm looking forward to the third book of this series. Second book that I did finish is The Blurest Eye by Toni Morrison. This is on, or was on, my 2022 TBR. This is the first book actually I finished on my TBR, which is shocking considering that we are 4 months in. This is the first book that I've read in my TBR. Am I serious? I have a reading vlog where I read this book and try to build my reading routine. Toni just writes in a way that you absent-minded, like you're just reading because you're enjoying the writing, how she writes, how she explains things, and like you're experiencing this beautiful writing only for her to break your heart and you were not ready for it. Basically, this book we follow basically Pecula, Claudia, Frida, Paulina. Like, those are the women for me that really stood out. The main concept of this book is beauty and what beauty means to one person. Pecula didn't deserve anything that happened to her, okay? Toni does this thing of exploring other topics within the characters themselves and also using people around those main characters. The men here are just disgusting. Mr. Henry, the pastor, Charlie, every single man is disgusting in this book. I really loved Claudia. She was my favorite. I loved her energy, and she oozed a certain kind of confidence. Even though she did have certain insecurities, but she had so much confidence, and it was just like, yes girl, I love it for you. She just basically kept up face in front of people even though she did have insecurities, and I think that's just a whole other thing that speaks about in terms of self-esteem. She held her head high even though there are things that she was struggling with. Also, I think maybe I'm projecting, I don't know. I really enjoyed this book. Third book that I did finish was Dating a Dr. Dale. I was looking for an enemies to lovers because that's my trope and I'm gonna stick beside it. This book was just perfect, okay? This book kind of made me like, it reminded me of that love that I had for Bollywood movies. We follow Karina and Prem. Karina just turned 30 and she is still single and living at home, and I'm actually just like her. It's very important that I note that she is a South Asian Indian. She has a law degree. She works in, I think it's an organization that helps women start like their businesses and stuff like that. And now she wants to focus in finding her soulmate. She believes in love. She wants to have a love marriage. And she goes out with her friends and she meets this guy, Prem. They kind of hit it off. And when they're about to hook up, this guy gets a call and basically leaves her. Gets pissed off. Gandhi, the next day, they're going to see each other on the show because Prem has a TV show. Basically, Prem doesn't believe in love. He believes that love is an illusion, and they kind of got like, they clash. Basically, that's how their story starts. We just get to see them navigate a relationship where they getting to know each other, finding a balance, things that they don't agree on. Yeah, it is a beautiful thing to experience because Prem has some big dick energy, and I love it for me and anybody else who's going to read this book. Like, he's super aware of other people but not himself, and that bothered me and my homegirls because I was just like, baby boo, look in the mirror, okay? I really enjoyed this book and it gave me a lot of whole lot that I learned. Not just their food, and I love Indian food, like I really do. The whole cultural thing, the things that go on in just that community alone, when people are so close. Such a beautiful thing to see, like when families are really just close. A great thing to read, part of seeing the families, of seeing the grandmother, the aunts, also just friends becoming family. I absolutely love that unity. People that are so close to you being in your business that much and being invested in your happiness that much. Really, it was my favorite parts, besides Prem and Karine just being in love or whatever. The enemies to lovers trope is the girl that she thinks she is, and I'm always down for it. Please recommend some enemies to lovers romance that you've guys read. I'm so used to reading romance that has extra everything. He's extra rich, it's just extra everything. But this felt very, like, I related to it. It's like a normal couple, bro, like a doctor, an attorney. Just felt very normal. It's something that I can also reach. The topic of getting married at a certain age. There were a lot of things that are packed in this book that I absolutely enjoyed. You guys should definitely read it. I would definitely recommend. It is so cute. So cute. Last but definitely not least, I read Those Who Live in Cages by Terry and Adams. And if you've watched like a couple of vlogs that I have done, you've probably seen this book a couple of times, me saying, okay, I'm trying to read this book. I finally finished it. That is good, okay? And that's on period. We follow 5 women who live in El Dorado Park, and these 5 women are colored. Get to see El Dorado Park in their eyes, seeing the township and the community and the people in their eyes, but in also different stages. The old generation, the middle generation, and then the younger generation. I really enjoyed the writing here. It felt very personal, which made it like you were solely invested in every single character. Even if you didn't like a character, at some point you felt sorry for them, you pitied them, and you understood where they were coming from. At some point I was like, I understand where you're coming from. Okay, fine, you make a valid point. Even though Raquel and Levine, not my faves. Besides Bertha's parts being Afrikaans, which I struggle with because Afrikaans is not a type of language that I say I want to learn. I think that's why I started and stopped many times. Other than that, I really enjoyed this book. Loved the conversations that Terry touched on. One in particular, because I am pro-choice. I believe that a woman should have the final say when it comes to a body and what she chooses to do with it. So in the topic of having an abortion, people feeling the need to have an opinion in what a woman should do, especially the woman carrying the child, it's something I never got to understand, how people feel this entitlement over someone else's body and what they should do. And I think it's very important that things like this still be talked about. So just like the conversation of being a feminist and also believing in God at the same time, because those two things can clash. I don't know. I believe that like two truths can exist. Is that how the saying goes? Bertha deserves a vacation, or maybe 5 vacations. She reminded me so much of my grandmother, my mother's mother. It's always interesting how you can see your life when you're reading a book and you be like, oh my God, my family went through that. Just also the conversation of being sterile, getting married, taking power or taking control over your sexuality and not doing things just because society thinks that you should do certain things. I wish I could have gotten some of the men POV, but also it's understandable that I didn't get them. Got to see the men from the woman's eyes. This was such a great read, and I definitely recommend to people. If you do not know Afrikaans or are not a big fan of Afrikaans, I suggest that you get Google Translate. She is your girl, okay? And that's on period. Yeah, that is all for this video, sugars. Thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't subscribed already, please do hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell to get notified every single time your homegirl post a video. Until next time, sugars, thank you so much for watching. Bye.